Welcome back, everybody. We're at it again with another review over Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I'm gonna just jump right in. Oh, and spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen episode 3 and 4, because that's what this review is going to be mostly centered around. So these three trying to catch up with, I forgot what the girl's name was. That's, got the whole little group, the Flag Smashers. They're trying to track her down, trying to figure out where she is, figure out who's coming up with this super serum, the super soldier serum, that just popped up out of nowhere. And what do they decide to do? Well, it was really Bucky's idea, but they decided to break out. Well, he broke himself out. This dude, Zemo, which I really can't believe they decided to do this, but hey, as Bucky said, it was a means to an end. But that's what they did, and well, they didn't really have to do much, because like I said, he broke himself out. So he just, linked up with the two of them, and they were like, listen, buddy, we're only doing this so that we could get what we need from you. And of course, Sam was like, bro, how could you break this guy out? Like, we all know who this is. But anyways, so he's taking them on, I guess, like private jets and all this kind of stuff, because, he was, as he said, he was royalty before they destroyed his country. And I can't get over this jacket that this guy has on. That collar just screams royalty, I guess. But anyways, so they set out to go, like I said, find information. They're impersonating different people. I can't get over this suit that Sam has on. I gotta admit, he does look pretty smooth, but this suit is just something else. But anyway, so they're going in dangerous territories, trying to impersonate people so they can get information, but it all goes completely south. So everything goes south, and they almost got bullets popped in all their behinds. But Sharon showed up and basically saved the day. And I have to say, it is really nice to see her again in any of the Marvel works here, because it has been a while since we've seen her on screen. But yeah, she swooped in and saved all three of their butts, and then took them back to her house. And she was explaining to Sam that she can no longer go home, not even have contact with her family, which is really sad, because she was technically labeled an enemy of the United States. And he kept trying to get her to, at least, give him some time to help get her pardoned. And she kind of was like, well, I don't know if that's really going to work, Sam. You can't even really promise me that. But he was really adamant about, trying to get her pardoned. And I thought that was really nice of him, But yeah, so she basically helped them track down the scientist that was responsible for making the not so new, but new version, I guess, of the super soldier serum. And they managed to get him, and she was kicking butt and taking names, and I mean, she was really like kicking butt by herself too. And they get into, they're at the, this location in the background, and they go into one of the shipping containers, and that's where they found the scientists. And they were asking him questions like, well, how did it pop up again? And who are you, and why are you making this, and etc., etc. They're getting all the information. Zemo's sneaking around like a creep around the room, finds a gun just conveniently, and while they're all caught off guard, he just shoots the guy. And I get it, he was an awful guy for making that serum and helping bad people, but they might have needed him alive, I'd say. So it was kind of shady that he would do that, but hey. And so then all kinds of mess starts to hit the fan. People start to show up, guns start flying, bullets start flying, and this guy sneaks off, puts on this mask, and I'm like, oh god, I guess we've got another villain in the making, or I guess he's gonna pop up somewhere talking about something else that he's trying to do, or get somebody else for revenge for what happened. Like, this putting on this mask, I feel like it's him announcing himself as another character in the MCU, or another villain, or anti-hero or something like that in this show. And he gets temporarily separated while stuff's blowing up and stuff like that. And then they get back together. They get a car, and Sharon was like, okay, so I gotta split off from you guys. And he was like, well, I'm gonna do everything I can to help, blah, blah, blah. So they leave again, and that's when they go to some place where they're getting closer and closer to that young lady. So they go, I forget where it was, but they went somewhere and they were staying in this house. And this house was something else. I don't know whose house this was. I'm assuming it's his. I could be wrong. This house was a really nice house. I don't know how they got this house. I guess it was maybe one of his houses, one of his estates or whatever. But that's where they were staying while they were trying to figure out how to get to this young woman. So when they get to this house, Bucky notices these, I forgot what they're called, those beads, around the place. The crazy part is, how is he the only one who realizes? And I guess maybe because he stayed with them in Conda for so long, but he was like, I'm gonna take a walk. Why don't you guys just go ahead and go without me? And Sam was like, you sure? And he's like, yeah, I just need to take a walk. And he was like, okay. And I thought it was nice that he at least asked if he was okay, and at least, let him have that. Like, well, maybe he just needs some time to, be alone, and he gave him that space. It was a good thing that he did, because, like I said, he found those beads, and he was like, okay, I found your beads. You can come out and talk now. And one of the warriors from the, I believe it's pronounced the Dora Milaje, came out and was like, how could you release Zemo after what he did to our people? Like, we still haven't healed from the wound that he inflicted by killing our leader. And he was like, I'm sorry, just using him as a means to an end. She was like, oh, I don't care. Like, you should knew better, like, you knew better, basically. And of course, they had a flashback where he was in Wakanda, and he was, healing his mind from, getting deprogrammed from being the, the Winter Soldier that he was, the assassin that he was, and how she was saying all those words, and he was like afraid that he wasn't gonna be able to control himself, and he finally was. And she was like, you're free to live your life, you're a free man, and you're no longer bound. And so he was like, look, after I'm done, you can have him. And she was like, oh, make no mistake, we're coming to pick him up after. We're giving you, like, limited time. We will be back to get him, though. This young woman might as well be the most wanted woman, period. Okay, and of course, Captain Know-It-All and his sidekick, Hopkins, were after her as well. Now, of course, they didn't, they're a couple of steps behind everybody else, of course. So they're thinking, oh, you know what, Zemo, that's right, he could help us find some of this information. Of course, by the time they even think to try that option, he had already broken himself out and got with Sam and Bucky. So they were like, of course they would help him get out. Of course they would think to go get him first. But we're gonna get there. They can't do this without us. This is not their jurisdiction. So this young lady, she was having a funeral for a woman who was not her biological mother, if I'm not mistaken, but a woman who took her in, fed her, clothed her, treated her well, took care of her whenever she was alone and needed somebody. And this woman apparently did that for many others. And I guess that woman also was part of the reason why she was doing what she was doing. Part of the reason why she had the resolve that she had. And like I said, they were all four of them were looking for her. So finally they all mash up together where they were. And of course, Zemo was the only person who was able to find information about the funeral to be able to track her down, and bribing children with candy. I feel like that was a bit beneath him, but whatever rose his boat, I guess that's what helped them get the information. And by then, Captain Wannabe and Hopkins had finally caught up with them, and was telling them, okay, well, we're gonna do this our way, and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, we'll see how good that goes. So Sam decided, you know what, let me talk to her. Maybe we can convince her to stop this. And Zemo was telling him, she's on a path of destruction. She has what she wants to do. She's not going to stop it for anybody. Like, she's in her mind. She's got what she wants to do. Nobody's going to talk her out of that. And there was two conversations that are very, I feel like, pivotal for us to understand. One was when Zemo was talking to Sam, and Bucky, and he said something along the lines of, well, Bucky was, I guess, questioning him about like what does he have against the Winter Soldiers and the serum, and he was saying like a lot of them are just off the rails. Like they take the serum, they end up doing something crazy, or they're just killers. And he said, well, what about Steve? And he was like, well, there's only one Steve. And I know that seems like, well, of course, there was only one Steve, but a deeper meaning in Steve was really one of the only people who really needed the serum. Not that I'm saying Bucky didn't, but he was literally the perfect man for the job, So that was, I feel like, something really important to hold on to. So anyways, they find her, and like I said, they finally let, like I said, Captain Wannabe calm down for a moment, but you could tell he was already on edge, and they let Sam talk to her, and he was really getting through to her, and I don't know if she would have, I think she might have just listened to him and been like, yeah, that was a nice speech, but I'm gonna still do what I want to do. But I feel like he might have been able to get through to her. But again, Captain Ignoramus had to ruin it by coming in at the last minute, her thinking that that Sam set her up and all this kind of stuff, and ruined everything. So they lose track of her, and it's like, oh, terrific. They've lost track of her again. She calls Sam's sister and basically threatens her, and of course, his sis calls him, and he gets upset because, of course, that's his sister. That's like the only thing he has left, his sister and his nephews. So it's a serious time, it's game time, because of course, like I said, she threatened his family, and that's a big no-no. And so they managed to get back together and find her again. And she was like, well, I wanted you to come alone. I wanted to find out more about you. I just wanted to see what you were really about. And she even had the audacity to ask him to join her. And he was like, oh, heck no. And so I'm just like, see, they were right about that one thing about her, that there's no change in her mind. So they end up fighting. And so before all that, Zemo was able to actually shoot her a couple of times. She dropped the serum. I forgot what she was going to do with that serum, but she dropped it. And when she dropped it, well, like I said, Captain Crazy over here stopped him from, I guess, shooting her. And then he found one more vial that Zemo didn't destroy of that super soldier serum. And I knew he was going to take it, especially when he was talking to Hopkins. And again, another thing, he was talking to Hopkins, and he was saying, if you could take the super soldier serum, would you? And he was like, well, yeah, heck yeah. And I figured he would say that, which is a serious contrast to where, like, Sam said, oh no, I wouldn't take that junk. And so I feel like they both had this, the grass is greener on the other side kind of mentality. But anyways, he even asked him, like I said, another important thing. He said, Hopkins, do you think that the serum would change you in any way? And he said, I mean, no, well, it'll just bring out more of who you really are. And I felt like that right there was like golden, because it was so true. So they all start fighting again. And one thing I forgot to mention was when the Dora Milaje came to get Zemo, and he felt so crushed because they weren't even super soldiers, and they basically kicked his butt and Hopkins' butt, and he was I think his pride was wounded, and I feel like that added to his desire to want to take that super soldier serum. Then they were fighting, and Hopkins is killed mid-fight. Now that was really sad, of course, I'm gonna add, and I have been really hard on this guy, John Walker. I've been really hard on him, but one thing you gotta give to him, he cared about his partner. He cared about some Hopkins. He cared about some Hopkins, okay? And when Hopkins got killed, he snapped. You can look in his eyes and tell that he snapped. And he went after whoever he could to get whoever back for the pain that he felt for losing his partner. And now he's got a bloodlust vengeance against this girl. Now that's gonna stop him from wanting to kill her for what has happened. And this is where we've gone off the deep end here. Him snapping, him being a super soldier now. We're in deep trouble.